So whether you're a long-time builder or a first-time builder, one of the most important things you can buy for your system is the motherboard. The motherboard is going to decide what kind of CPU and how fast it can be. It's going to decide what kind of memory and how much you can utilize, what kind of PCIe devices you can get, how many you can get, including M.2 drives, how many SATA drives you can use, and so many more things. That's why I'm excited in this video to bring you EVGA's first X570 platform, the EVGA X570 Dark Motherboard. As I mentioned, this is EVGA's first go at an AMD motherboard, and I'm super excited, not only because this is EVGA's first, but because of how many features and gadgets and everything they put in this box. Now mind you, this is by no means a small box. This is a tremendous box, but that gets me even more excited to get inside, so let's go. So here we are again. The EVGA X570 Dark Motherboard supports AMD Ryzen processors, then AMD Ryzen 5000 desktop ready, and it is also 3000 series compatible, AMD socket AM4, X570 chipset, PCIe Gen 4.0 ready, NVIDIA SLI ready, USB 3.2 Gen 10 gigabits per second, NVMe SSD ready. Along the side over here, just EVGA and some red garbage. And EVGA X570 Dark and X570 over here. So it is basically a plain black box. Over here we're going to see the model number, part number, serial number, EVGA, and along the bottom kind of sort of the same thing, and the QR code. All right, so let's open her up real quick. Okay, and nothing else in this box. All right, and just a plain black box, which I love because that means they didn't spend as much money on this, they spent more money on what's inside to give you a better product. All right, I kind of like that presentation. All right, so in the center they have this over here, which, so it's just this one little thing, is the EVGA Dark installation quick guide. So coming up in my next video, I'm going to show you guys how to build a system utilizing this motherboard, so stay tuned. I'm sure while EVGA does provide great information, it's going to be pretty generic, so hands-on will definitely be best. Slide that out. Wow. Okay, so they really did put a lot of effort on this. This is the Dark board, so it is of course an enthusiast board. You are going to be paying a little bit more, but they're coming out soon with the FTW board. So here we can see the accessories kit presented all beautifully. It is so awesome. All right, so then here looks like motherboard screws. All right, then the UPC and the part number right up here. Then in here, oh, this is beautiful, is the EVGA Wi-Fi antenna. So two antennas right over here. Then the little E for EVGA. I really like the way this looks. And then this is going to connect to the back of the motherboard. Let's see how long this cable is. So the cable is about 40 inches, a little over 3 feet, so decently long. You can see right over here, EVGA Wi-Fi. All right, so that is pretty cool. What else do we have in here? Then we have two bags, which should be, 4 SATA cables. So 2 sets here with the little locking mechanism. And this is the other baggie, same thing. So 2 sets. All in all, 4 cables. Now on the last Z390 unboxing I did on the Dark board, I didn't totally know what these were, but I'll get to it in 1 second. I'm gonna leave it unopened just for right now. I'll come back to that in 1 sec. Then over here, we have M.2 thermal pads, and it brings 4 of them. Sweet that they include them all separate. Then they have over here a separate baggie, and there's a lot of reflection of M.2 screws. So they have 2 in here, and surely they're going to have the others on the board. These are probably spares. And now something that all motherboards should include, and of course EVGA is going to be first on this, they include a USB thumb drive, or a thumb drive, because they're probably all going to be USB, that includes the manual and all the drivers. Now mind you, usually you're not going to be using this for drivers, but it's awesome that they do include it. It'd be better if it's writable, but I'm not sure just yet on that. All right, and then in here, they have their Pro Belt cable, so you can connect it to the motherboard. And that's it in this. Oh, wait. One of the most important that everybody loves is the EVGA case badge. These things are awesome. They're not metal, but they sure really do look like it. Or really hard plastic, but these are beautiful case badges. All right, let me put all this back in here one sec. All right, and peeling apart more. And I'm going to put this aside just for right now because there's more. All right, now this bad boy is the base plate. So you can use it as a map so you can know where everything is on your motherboard, and that's pretty cool and everything. But what this is also for, you can utilize these posts or these standoffs. For example, you know, in all these holes, you can put one of these standoffs, and then laying this flat, you can put your motherboard on top of that so that you can use that, you know, to overclock your system, or maybe if you just want a close look at your board. But all in all, this is amazing. This is made out of PCB, the same PCB that your motherboard or this motherboard utilizes. So that is pretty awesome that they include this in the box. I didn't know what it was on the Z390 Dark board, but afterwards, you know, kind of slapped myself in the head for not realizing what it was. So not only can you use it for that, but you can use it kind of as a map. You know, you could see that there's the M.2 key Gen 4 right over here, M.2 key Gen 4, PM2, PN1, LAN 2, LAN 1, PME, that is for your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, PS2 USB 3.1, Gen 1 and a half. And then, you know, you could see everything on this, and this is just beautiful for both reasons. Awesome work, EVGA, on that. All right, so let me put this away, one sec. And now, wow, this is heavy. Okay, I don't know why I didn't realize it before, but this is amazingly heavy. Wow, okay. All right, now we have the motherboard itself. Now this thing, again, is tremendous, and make sure you peel off all of this stuff. I'm in love with these heat sinks. They are amazingly beautiful. Look at that. They feel so nice and so cold. So again, socket AM4. And we can see here there are 2 PCIe by 16 slots, by 16 electrically, and when you utilize the second, they both turn to by 8. There's also a by 4 right down here. All 3 of them you can use as a by 1 as well, and a by 4. So, you know, mind you, you're going to be using this as a by 16, but if you wanted to put a by 1 or a by 4 here, you could. And here you could put a by 1 or a by 4. Obviously, you can't go by 8 or by 16, so by 8s for these as well. So one very odd thing you will notice is they only have 2 RAM slots, and it's not over here. So it might look a little odd to you, and they did this way back when on the Z390 and the Z370 Dark boards, because it's closer to the memory over here, so it's going to overclock so much better. So you'd actually be able to get 4,000 and above megahertz. And some more over here. So make sure you do an inspection just to make sure you don't leave any of this anywhere. That's definitely going to impede airflow. Talking about RAM, This does support DDR4 4800 megahertz RAM, and of course you can overclock it, and supports up to 64 gigs of RAM. Now, as I mentioned before, back here, this board does have M.2 key E socket that's already being taken up by the Wi-Fi adapter over here. So there are two USB 3.0 ports right over here, as well as a trusty and true PS2 port. Then over here we have 4 USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A ports. And then right over here we have a USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C port. Up here we have two Intel i225-V 2.5 gigabit NICs, which will support 10, 100, 1000, and up to 2.5 gigabits per second. And then this bad boy over here, the Wi-Fi adapters again, is based off of Intel's AX200 Wi-Fi 6, also with Bluetooth 5.2 modules, pre-installed in the M.2 socket. And then over here we have 7.1 channel Realtek. The chipset is 12220, also utilizing EVGA's NU audio. And if you hadn't noticed already, this does have the built-in I/O shield, which is awesome. You will never forget to put it back in there. Then there is also the CMOS reset button. Now, another thing you might notice, there are little vents over here, and it's not just to let heat and whatever leak out, or potentially a good gust of airflow. Under here there are fans as well. Now those fans are going to be, from what I understand right now, blowing air across over here over the VRMs. Now let me check real quick if I can take this off. All right. So I couldn't take this off just yet, but right over here, you can see the tops of the fans. So again, two fans, either blowing air over here or sucking air. I'm not entirely sure just yet, but I'll get back to you on that. I'll just go ahead and put that back. All right, so then up here is where you would plug in the Pro Belt adapter. We can see a safe boot button right over here, and then another CMOS clear button over here, then a BIOS update USB port, and then over here is where you can see the boot codes, a power and reset button on the board. I love these. Then over here at a 90-degree angle, I love it, the 24-pin ATX connection, two CPU EPS 8 pins over here, USB 3.1 connection over here, then a USB Type-C header. Then we'll see 8 SATA ports. And then 2 fan headers right over here. Then over here is where you would plug in your front panel reset, power button, activity, LED, all that good stuff. Then another fan header right over here. 2 USB 2.0 90-degree angle ports right down there. Then 2 ARGB headers along with 2 RGB headers. So 2 ARGB and 2 RGB. They want to make sure they don't leave you behind. Then over here, a front panel audio header, and then a 90-degree PCIe connection to provide additional power to the PCIe slots. Now, underneath this heatsink, as I was unscrewing it, those screws that I was removing from that heat shield, they look like standoffs, but they're actually screws. Crazy, right? So just be careful you don't lose them. Wow. This is a hefty block. And I'm being careful I don't flip it over because I don't want to lose the screws, but this is tremendously hefty. Now, down here, even though you did see those replacement pads in the motherboard box, they have the pads already pre-applied. So those are just extras, just in case. I want to reiterate just how awesome this is. So I am incredibly impressed. And then of course it says Dark on there. Putting that aside for right now. Down here, even though you saw it on the map, is where you would find those 2 M.2 sockets. So you can fit any 1 or 2 of your M.2 devices, SSDs, right down here. That's pretty awesome. And then covering the chipset, the 570 chipset, we have this EVGA right over here, which you can see that there is kind of like a grate, and it feels, well, feels great. It is an amazing chipset. Then we have the pipe right over here connecting this heatsink to this heatsink as well. So then there's two fans over here, and there is no fan here, but you know, keeping it cool, it's going to blow in air over here, keeping this cool, and then that's going to radiate through right over here. Mind you, the more system cooling you have, the better it's going to be overall for the system, but that is pretty beautiful. Let me go ahead and put this back on. So as I was showing you before, this huge heatsink over here, that's to cool down their 17-phase digital VRM. This board also supports NVIDIA's resizable bar, as well as AMD SAM, so that is nice. Smart access memory. Did want to mention the Dark logo right over here. And then along the back, we can see the nice Dark logo as well, which a lot would say is kind of worthless because it's in the back, but this is an enthusiast board, so every aspect is supposed to be beautiful. Now, I did show you the ARGB and RGB connections. I don't 100% know just yet, well, because I just took it out of the box, but I do believe this X570 Dark is RGB as well. Now, to control all of the RGB and all that good stuff, on that thumb drive, they do include a copy of EVGA Elite, their tuning utility, which is also used for RGB. But still, even though it's on there, I am going to be looking on EVGA's website for that. Over here, we can find the pump header and then a power fan connection. Then over here, we can find the PCIe switches to disable or enable PCIe slots. Then the BIOS selector switch over here and the slow switch over here. Make sure you have both of these facing up, which this comes in handy for when you're doing overclocks. You know, for example, you're on the first one, you overclocked it really hard in the BIOS, you can't post anymore. Go back to the second BIOS, to your usable BIOS, and then you can boot back up from there. Or that one as well. So there are 3 BIOSes. So I am incredibly excited to see the performance on this board and how well it works, being AMD's first chipset on EVGA's motherboard. Those two I never thought would be together, but awesomely they are, and I'm sure the performance is going to be mind-blowing. Let me know down in the comments below. All I have is 16 gigs. What kind of memory do you think I should be using up here now that I have to use 2 instead of 4 sticks of memory? Are there any kits that you prefer? Low latency, high megahertz, or overclocking RAM, low latency, definitely. So I'd love to get your feedback on that, and let me know what you think about the overall board and the fact that AMD and EVGA are working together on this. Again, amazingly awesome. And then so many awesome things jam-packed into the motherboard box. Again, well, I mean, it was a huge box. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about the board, what you think about this unboxing, everything that comes inside of the box, all the cool features and everything along those lines. I'd love to get your feedback on that. And as always, please do click like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. And if you'd like, go ahead and buy me a cup of coffee as well. This is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou doing an unboxing, overview, and first view on the EVGA X570 Dark board. Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.